It can be very scary. And it could happen whether you're young or old.
Nurses and doctors are feeling the pressure as Colorado's hospitals continue to fill up. The governor now says those facilities can turn away patients if they don't have space.
Things can literally go from 0 to 100 in an instant.
With millions traveling for the holiday and businesses crying for a lifeline, we appear to be entering the most difficult stage of the pandemic.
Tonight, we're breaking down the state's plan to steer us through.
This is real. This is not the flu.
Several breaking developments out of Washington, D.C. this evening. First, just about an hour ago, the General Services Administration granted President-elect Joe Biden access to some transition materials.
Now, up till now, the GSA has cited election uncertainty as a reason for not giving Biden the transition materials. But in a letter to the president-elect today, the GSA administrator said she was never directly or indirectly pressured by any executive branch official, including those who work at the White House. Now, the president signaled he, too, is cooperating, writing on Twitter, quote, "In the best interest of our country, I am recommending that the GSA do what needs to be done with regards to initial protocols and have told my team to do the same." He did not concede, however. He tweeted, "This is Mr. Trump. He will continue to fight the results of the election."
And also breaking this afternoon, Michigan election officials certified Biden's win over Trump. The 4-member board of canvassers voted 3-0 to certify the results. One Republican on the board chose to abstain. And in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court rejected 5 lawsuits filed by the Trump campaign, saying no allegations of fraud came up when examining the ballots.
The president-elect's cabinet starting to take shape, and it will reportedly include some historic firsts. Janet Yellen, the former Federal Reserve chairwoman, is reportedly Biden's pick for Treasury Secretary. She would be the first woman in that position. Avril Haines, picked for National Director of Intelligence, would be the first woman in that role as well. And Alejandro Mayorkas is a pick for Homeland Security. And if confirmed, the Cuban-born Mayorkas would be the first Latino to lead that department. We're under a Denver7 weather action day. We have gusty winds, rain, even some snow that could make for a mess in the morning.
Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson is joining us, so give us the lowdown, Mike.
Not much on the horizon right now out there. Our skies are clear, and it's been quite a warm day today. Ahead of the storm, 66 was the high in Denver. Down at La Junta, 73 degrees. Conditions are still very mild in the 50s at lower elevations, 30s and 40s in the mountains. But winter weather advisories are in effect west of Sheridan Boulevard, Boulder County, Jefferson County, parts of Denver County, down to the southern and western suburbs as well. Winter weather advisories, Central Mountains, winter storm warnings in effect. The San Juans, the Lagaritas could see about 1.5 feet of snow down toward Wolf Creek Pass out of this storm system. Clouds are increasing, and the storm system is moving our way from the southwest, coming in over the Las Vegas area. So our headlines are rain and snow developing by midnight, slushy snow by tomorrow morning. I think we get about 1 to 3 here in the Denver area, but heavier amounts in the mountains and foothills. I'll have the full details on that and your complete 7-day outlook in just a few minutes.
Thank you very much. The governor is now making contingency plans in the event hospitals reach capacity due to COVID. In an executive order issued this afternoon, Governor Polis gave hospitals and freestanding emergency rooms permission to turn away or transfer patients once they are at capacity.
And there are a couple rules in here to protect Coloradans. If you have an emergency medical condition, the hospital has to stabilize you before they can transfer you. Also, under this executive order, hospitals are not allowed to factor your ability to pay into their decision.
And tonight, more than 1,700 hospital beds are in use by patients with the virus or virus symptoms. 11% of facilities say they could run out of ICU beds this week.
And the number of cases just keeps climbing. Take a look at this. We passed 200,000 total cases today. State leaders warn the actual number could be much higher since so many people with symptoms never get tested. And some Colorado hospitals are hiring traveling nurses to deal with this pandemic right now. Others are asking retired nurses if they'd like to come back and work just for a little while. The pressure really is taking a toll. A survey released this week showed 80% of nurses dealing with moderate or high stress and a quarter dealing with depression. The nurses we spoke to say patients are waiting too long to get care, often because they don't understand how serious this virus is.
The impact of this virus is just unbelievable. It doesn't discriminate.
This is real. This is not the flu. And just because you don't see it or don't know anyone that has died from it doesn't mean that it's not real.
Nationwide trends reflect what we see here in Colorado. The United States is averaging 157,000 new cases each day, according to the COVID tracking project, and that's more than 4 times the daily average from September. And today, AstraZeneca became the 3rd drug maker to announce its vaccine is up to 90% effective. Now, this vaccine must be given in 2 doses, a smaller one than a normal one, at least a month later. And Colorado leaders say they are expecting first responders to get a vaccine by mid-December. However, it is unlikely that any vaccine will get widespread distribution before the spring.
A Fort Collins woman has created a tribute to those in her community who have lost their lives to COVID.
That memorial was recently vandalized, but she tells Denver7's Jessica Porter something more meaningful was built as a result.
As a sociologist, Sarah Steen prides herself in helping people understand the significance of numbers.
I created this memorial in September. I was feeling like people weren't talking enough about the people who had died of COVID.
The memorial outside her home in the Parkwood East neighborhood now has 63 circles, 1 for each person who has lost their life to COVID in Larimer County.
In the middle, there's 1 emblem for everyone who's died in Larimer County, 1 emblem for every 40 people who've died in Colorado, about 4,000 in the U.S., and 20,000 in the world.
Shortly after the election, the memorial was vandalized. Thick black spray paint covered the circles representing a person's life.
I came out in the morning and all of the circles that I had created had been spray painted individually, which was really sad. I kind of just broke down on the sidewalk and a neighbor walked by and comforted me. Another neighbor came by and said, I actually know how to get spray paint off. So she came and she spent hours cleaning all of the emblems. So these are the originals.
Steen believes the vandalism is connected to the election, but isn't holding a grudge. Now she's encouraging others to add to her work.
But people made some really beautiful emblems, and I think now it's much more meaningful because it's actually a community memorial instead of just something that I put together.
Jessica Porter, Denver7.
And a quick reminder about restrictions in Colorado. Every county in red on this map is tonight under increased restrictions because of how quickly the virus is spreading. Today, the state announced El Paso County will move to the red level on Friday. Now, there's been some pushback. Weld County, for one, has vowed not to enforce the restrictions. And then tomorrow, the city of Castle Rock is holding a special meeting to debate whether Douglas County belongs on that red level. They'll be taking public comment and may ask the state to reconsider.
And we are hearing from many parents who believe spending time with family is worth the risk of catching or spreading coronavirus. 1/3 of parents were willing to accept the risk, according to a study out of Michigan. And that said, 75% of parents said they'd like to limit contact between their children and high-risk family members, such as grandparents. And it is clear from this past weekend that people are taking the risk to fly. 2 million people were screened at U.S. airports on Friday and Saturday. Those are the highest numbers since the pandemic began in mid-March.
Well, the pandemic and project mismanagement forced some changes to the Great Hall renovation project at DIA.
And today we got a look at the airport's new proposal for renovations. Denver7's Sean Toll reports.
Monday, we got an inside look at Phase 1 of DIA's Great Hall renovation. But the bigger part of the changes will be Phase 2. And earlier this year, DIA said to make sure they met budget, they were going to change course from the initial plans.
We threw out all of the options that were above the budget. We did not consider them.
So instead of moving all security up top, they're proposing moving the south security to the 6th level on the north side, which adds 5 new lanes, and fortifying the existing north security.
Looking at long-term, what makes the most sense for the airport, its continued growth, and where we're headed, we all landed on that this interim step moved them in the right direction.
This all goes before the City Council Business Committee on Wednesday, but this is a week the airport is usually packed. So there's a lot of focus on people traveling for the holidays amid the pandemic.
You might be under the impression that the airport is empty, and that is certainly not the case.
Travelers see the difference this year in precautions and sheer numbers.
Not many people. It's great.
We wash our hands all the time, keep our mask on, and stay safe.
Early estimates were showing that passenger traffic might only be down 30% over last year. Now we're looking like it's going to be closer to 50%.
The airport also has the Verifly and Eats Deliver apps to help you travel and socially distance inside. they will still be out helping direct travelers around the area navigating the Great Hall construction, which the airport hopes that new direction will be under construction this time next year.
It's not been easy, but something we are definitely on track to do.
Sean Toll, Denver7.
Business is booming. And up next, we'll look at the increase in gun sales during the pandemic.
Trouble at the top. Why Denver's mayor is lashing out at dysfunction on the city school board.
It's been a warm one today, but there is snow on the way.